Will Anderson back. CJ Stroud speaks. And is the hate alive? Is the hate alive? Let's go inside the locker room in more ways than one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. Appreciate you for joining me. Texans returned to practice today, and so did Will Anderson. Will Anderson back on the practice field. Now, granted, it was a very light practice. I think most people could have participated in this practice. They were a lot of guys in ball caps, a lot of guys kind of just off to the side, sweats, all that. It was a laid-back day all around. Really, I mean, the Texans were kind of slipping today. The open locker room, they moved meetings, so we didn't get the full open locker room today. Got to talk to a few guys, but they weren't in on that. That was kind of a little bit of a day. So it was just kind of a little bit of a blah day, just a little bit of a let's get back in the routine type of day. And I got to tell you, I'm starting to feel like this is going to be a much, 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 much tougher game than we may think. Now, the Texans should beat the Titans. The Titans suck. But the problem I have right now with this game, and the reason why there's a couple of reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant to just completely think this is going to be a thumping. It has nothing to do with what happens outside of the trenches. I think outside of the trenches, like if this was the Olympics, I think that we would be talking about the fact that the Texans need to win this on the track. You got to win this on the track. You got to win this with the extra guy, with the guys on the outside. But if we're talking about like this being a wrestling match, that's where I'm worried about the Texans. And the biggest problem that there's been with this Texans is that on the interior of the offensive line and really on the offensive line as a whole, they got problems. That's the weakness of this football team. I don't think anyone disputes that. On the other hand, the Tennessee Titans, they're not a good football team. They don't have an identity at all. They didn't have an offseason identity. They were going to rebuild, and then all of a sudden they were going all in. So they have an identity crisis, but they have a really strong interior D-line. They got a very, very, very good interior D-line with Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat. And if you look at the interior of the Texans offensive line, Shaq Mason, Jared Patterson, Juice Scruggs, they're very vulnerable towards getting roughed up. And that's a big concern in this game. And I don't think the team's going to come out sluggish, but I'm just telling you from my from my own experience, there's two things that kind of concern me and other extra elements outside of what's going on in the trenches. Number one is if they can't run the ball, and the Titans are actually very, very stout against the run. If they can't run the ball, then we're basically looking at a situation where do you trust Bobby Slowick to be able to realize that you're not able to run the ball? And that's another thing that I think this is kind of scary about this Texans team is we don't fully trust Bobby Slowick.
Damn it, Bobby.
We don't fully trust him. We don't fully trust Bobby Slowick. So if T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons are roughing up the interior of the O-line, is Bobby Slowick going to have the wherewithal to roll CJ Stroud out? Is he going to have the wherewithal to incorporate the quick game? Or is he just going to run it up the middle for no gain on first down, second down, and then put CJ Stroud in tough situations? Will it matter? Maybe not. Tennessee sucks. As I've said, Texans have an awesome defense. They just got Will Anderson back. It might not matter. But if you're just looking at the worst thing that the Texans do and the best thing that the Titans do, it's a massive advantage for Tennessee. Their interior D-line is way better than what the Texans have in the interior of the offensive line. It can be overcome. It should be overcome. But right now, like if you look at just the way the line is and how, there's kind of like a natural instinct to just gloss over this one and say, well, you got to win this. And you should. If Bobby Slowick doesn't adjust and he just decides, okay, our offensive line's getting roughed up, they're going to get roughed up. They're not going to shut down Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. This might be the best interior that they faced outside of the Jets, and we saw what happened there. Granted, it was Kenyon Green and Kendrick Green, but we saw what happened there. Short week, I get it. But we saw what happened. This might be one of the better interior D lines that they face, especially against the run. So is Bobby Slowick going to be able to adjust to that? And is he going to be able to avoid it? Or is he going to try to fit a square peg into a round hole? Because that's where you could find yourself getting in trouble. Other than that, the Titans suck. I don't have much respect for anything else that they do. But I think they got a lot. You should have a lot of respect for what they do on the D line. And Bobby Slowick's going to have to adjust. So that is what I would really, really, really keep a close eye on. You think No Hat Bobby is a different animal? I don't know. I mean, I think he's I think he's the same guy. I mean, we saw a good start. I do wonder if that's going to be a thing. They won, so maybe he doesn't wear the hat, but who knows? I can see Mayo Man getting a win against us. Little Jesus again. I don't have any confidence in Gosh Allen. I don't think much about Gosh Allen. You said you can see it. SSG says you must be blind. Good trash talk right there. I'm not doubting the Texans. I'm just telling you that if you have confidence in that interior line, then you're blinder than him. And I don't even know if you're talking to me about that, but if you have confidence in the interior of this O-line, I don't know what to tell you. Texan on the super chat, swarming the super chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Sting took CD's nuts, ankles on the INT. Also, I think it is easier to dislike the Titans with D-Hop gone. I thought it was easy to dislike the Titans with Nuke there, to be honest with you. I thought that was that. Speaking of the hate, where is your hate at when it comes to this matchup? Because there's been a lot. We've heard Hannah McNair talk some crap. We know the stanky one, the stank, Amy Adams Stank. We know that she's got a lot of distaste for all things Houston because of what went down with Bud. Where is your hate? Where is the hate? Are you kind of sleepwalking right now? Because the other element that I think is there, and they'll never admit this, but right now the Texans, they're back in their routine. And I'm speaking just as somebody who covers the team, just as somebody, I have the same practice schedule as them. I go to practice and I go on the same routine as them. And covering the team, I cover practices as like on the week, like weekly, and reaction Mondays on Monday. And we react to games. And last year, the routine was the exact same throughout the year, except the final day of the season. And really, it was the same because you just moved Sunday back to Saturday and you flexed it out. So the creatures of habit type of thing, the clock that you develop when you have a routine, it didn't change last year. And a lot of this young core, it hasn't changed at all for him. Like, I don't know, Derek Stingley didn't play a lot of primetime games before this season. He just didn't. But these last few weeks, when you talk about playing on Thursday night, and then you talk about playing on Sunday night, and then you talk about playing on Monday night, I don't know what day it is. And I was talking about that with someone who works up there, And I was just talking to him. I was like, man, like I'm not complaining because it's not like I'm physically have to get ready for a game and ice up and walkthroughs and ice baths and rest days and all that and speed up and slow down the process. But I don't even know what day it is. And I asked CJ Stroud about this. We'll hear from CJ Stroud in a second. But from a player's perspective, that's got to be tough. That's got to be physically and mentally draining. And I know it's just part of the gig and there's like the hardo, you got to figure it out. And we're probably going to have to get used to it because the Texans are going to be on primetime. There's not going to be any more, 16 straight games at noon on Sunday. They're going to have a few primetime games a week. They're probably going to play on Thursday, Monday, Sunday night, holidays for the remainder of CJ Stroud's entire career. So they're going to have to get used to it. But I got to tell you, man, it's been a crazy schedule. And I wonder with them, if you factor that in and just kind of the lull that there is, and they lost 2 out of those 3 games. You look at Thursday night, it's easy to get up for New York, going to New York, facing the Jets on Thursday night. You can get pretty gassed up. Now, physically on the short week, that's another issue on itself. But you go to the Big Apple, under the lights, Amazon, all that, easy to get gassed up. Lions on Sunday night football, easy to get gassed up. Cowboys on Monday night football, easy to get gassed up. Is the hate strong enough for the Tennessee Titans for them to get gassed up? Could this be one of those sleepwalk games? Because the Titans suck. I'm not sitting here saying that this makes the Titans season if they beat the Texans. I don't think it's like that. You're not on that level. But do you approach this game now, Sunday noon, right there, after all the lights, the bright lights and all that, you're going to walk out there. Let's be honest, it's probably going to be half empty when you walk out. You're going to look across the field. Instead of seeing that star on the helmet or Sunday Night Football and all that, you're going to see Will Levis. Could the Texans sleepwalk in this one? Now, they can sleepwalk and get dominated up front and still win the game. There's a good chance of that. I just think they're in for more of a fight than giving it credit for. Swarm in the super chat, my man Gustavo.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Defense going to be MF Dogs, 4 picks, a pick 6, and 8 sacks. Okay. That's a lot. I wouldn't put it past them. This is a badass defense. This is a really, really, really good defense. Speaking of that defense, a member of the Tennessee Titans last year. He's been on both sides of this thing. Aziz Al-Shaair, one of the leaders of this team. He was available during the tweaked open locker room that they had today. And I asked him, there were a lot of people kind of gassed up about the uniform thing last year. What was it like from the Titans' perspective? What was that like? Here's what Al-Shaair had to say about that.
There was a lot of talk about wearing the Oilers uniforms. What was the dialogue like from the other side? Because here it was kind of a big deal. The Oilers played here. Y'all rocked the Oilers uniforms. What was it like from the Tennessee dialogue?
Honestly, that was my first time getting into the whole rivalry of it all. And when you start to hear both sides explaining why they feel like it's their uniform, and it was just kind of funny, just being a part of it and now being on the other side of it. So it's definitely something that I take pride in, and it's I think the heart and soul of why the rivalry is what it is.
Do you see growth from Will?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I like hearing Al-Shaair talk. I don't know that they really cared too much. I think the stanky one, Amy Adams Stank, was the one who cared the most. We'll hear from D'Amico Ryans in a sec. I asked him about Derek Stingley. And I remember last year, y'all know how I am with press conferences. I remember everything that these guys say. Podium critic, almost at an extreme level. Don't expect them to be completely honest all the time, but I think helps develop storylines, and it helps you understand tendencies and evolution of players as well as coaches, like on different levels, from a mental standpoint, from a player standpoint. Like, if you listen to these press conferences and you hear everything that they say, and then you kind of juggle it around with what they actually do, and then you remember those types of things, I think it helps you kind of grasp the maturation of a player. And I thought that Derek Stingley last year against the Browns, there was a lot of frustration when Amari Cooper just completely probably cost a lot of you your fantasy games and went out there and did his thing. There was a lot of frustration with why didn't Derek Stingley follow around Amari Cooper? And when DeMeco Ryans was asked about it, he said something along the lines, and this might be a direct quote of, that's just not really what we do. And as soon as I saw and heard DeMeco say that, I was like, oh God. I mean, that's kind of scary, because that sounds really hard-headed. I mean, that was the game where Steven Nelson got nicked up too, if I'm not mistaken. And Amari Cooper's just out there breaking these dudes off. And Steven Nelson was hurt as well. And I'm sitting there thinking, damn, DeMeco must be hard-headed. That's scary if we're that stubborn. Well, you go to the playoff game, round 2, and Derek Stingley is shadowing Amari Cooper, and he shuts his ass down. And it's a little bit different. So you realize, okay, DeMeco said one thing, he did the next. And then we saw him against CeeDee Lamb, the only real threat the Cowboys had, especially once Ferguson got hurt. And Derek Stingley shuts him down, keeps him in check. So I think it's interesting just seeing kind of the trust that DeMeco has now in Stingley, to where it's almost assumed that he's going to follow the other team's best receiver. So I asked DeMeco about that, and here was what DeMeco had to say about that. We'll hear from CJ in a sec as well. We'll get into the hate. I think there's a little bit of hate for the Titans. Kind of feels like it could be a sleepwalk, though. But here was me asking DeMeco about that.
Last year, early in the season, you kind of said, we don't typically have corners shadow top receivers. And then against Amari Cooper in the playoffs, he shadowed him and did a good job, and he did a good job against CD. What is the process to earn that type of trust, to where you basically say you line up against their best guy and we're relying on you to take him out?
Yeah, for me, it's all game plan specific. I don't get into game plan specifics of what we're doing on a week-to-week basis. It always changes. So there are no absolutes on how we deploy our guys on defense. Stingley has done a great job with everything that we've asked him to do. He's continued to grow, as a player, made a lot of big-time plays for us, and I look for Stingley to continue to do that. He's gained a lot of trust in everybody just by showing up each and every week. And when there is a quote-unquote difficult matchup, like he thrives in those moments, no matter who he's going against. So you have a corner who has that mentality, not only him, but with the mentality of Stingley, and also the mentality of Kamari, like two really good young corners, right, who will line up and play against anybody.
All right, there we go. That was DeMeco talking about the Stingley thing. Houston Stresson says, what I've learned about DeMeco is he's a big picture guy. He's all about having everyone ready for the playoffs and saving his tricks for them. I also think there's kind of an evolution, and I think we'll witness the evolution of DeMeco Ryans early on in his tenure. I think there's might be some things that maybe he's not initially open to that he figures out, but the Stingley thing is another thing. And also the other thing that I've learned the most about DeMeco is you don't really judge what he says at the podium. I mean, you can get a grasp, especially if you figure out his tendencies, but it's not going to tell you the complete truth. And I don't blame him for that. I have no problem not telling the truth. He's always going to err on, players, protecting players and stuff. And Derek Stingley he's a hell of a player. He is, he's going to get rich, which is what CJ Stroud talked about. Few more comments. TA says there's no team I hate more than the Titans. Okay, so there's a little hate there. Turner says that Danico Autry also played for the Titans. He did. I'll ask him about that whenever there's a real open locker room and not like a fake one like today. Paul says the Texans can't sleep on the Titans. I think I agree with you, but I think this is kind of a recipe for sleep. And I'm just speaking from some jackass who goes to practice. Like I don't know what day it is, man. Like I have no idea. It's Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. And I'm not someone who has to like get ready like from Monday to Sunday. And I know like in the mix, like you kind of get gassed up, you get excited, but that's like there's a lot of highs there. I mean, how do you get hyped for the Titans? I mean, the crowd's not going to help you. I'm not trying to be a jackass. I don't care. Like I'm not one of these people that's going to sit here and cry about not showing up early. Do what you want to do. Go drink some beers, man. God knows I've showed up late to games, sitting in the parking lot, getting drunk and stuff like that. There's traffic. Like I get it. So I'm not one of these jackasses that is going to tell you how to fan. You want to sell your tickets to opposing fans? Sell your tickets to opposing fans. It's not my job. I'm not the fan police. So I'm not saying that to like make it like some sort of fan attack. I'm not the gatekeeper of that. I respect all types of fans, but let's just be serious. Like how many times have you heard players, including D'Amico, talk about how cool it was to take over Jerry World? They love it. There's times where their own stadium doesn't even feel like that. And that has nothing to do with Detroit fans coming into town. Detroit fans were quiet as hell. Primetime games, it's a show out. It's been a show out, the primetime games at NRG this year. But a noon game against a team that you see every year that sucks, that right now is the second worst team in the NFL, it might be hard to get up for. And I don't know that the crowd's going to lift you up when you go to this game. It might. I don't know. I mean, crazier things have happened, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't necessarily know that that's something that you can bank on. And you type in getting off that roller coaster that they were on from the primetime games and the games that are easy to get up for. You know how it is in the NFL. The line's gone down. It hadn't gone up. The line last I saw went down to 7, maybe 6.5. And you also factor in their strength being your weakness. Just look out. Because that interior line is going to get roughed up. They're going to have to hold up, but they're going to get roughed up. Ain't no joke with Jeffrey Simmons and Sweat. Promise you. So it's going to be what? Just tell me this right now. I think teenage. You remember when you were a teenager and you saw porn for the first time? How exciting that was. That's probably what Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat feel like watching the film of the interior of that Texans O-line. Let's just be honest. I mean, you remember when you used to have to, well, some of you might have never had to deal with it, but you got to go on the dial up and stuff. And then all of a sudden your mom's going to her computer and she's getting all these pop-ups because you looked at porn for the first time. It's like the most exciting thing ever. That's what the film session's like with T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. That's how excited they get watching that interior line. So look out. Might not be enough to lose a game or anything like that, but keep an eye on it. Devin swarming the super as well.
Swarm.
Had a nightmare last night. We traded CJ to the Steelers. Got Russell Wilson in a first rounder. Woke up sweating. Man, that is a weird dream. The trade deadline is over too. That would be but that dreams get weird though. TA says Stressens ate Paul Gallant for lunch today. LOL. Have no idea what the hell that means. No idea. I'm assuming that's some sort of Twitter thing. No idea what that even is. Yeah. Someone says my mom never busted me, dude. I'm not saying in the act, dude. I'm just saying like if you were a millennial back in the day, then you didn't have a laptop. you're using the same computer that your mom and dad uses, and all of a sudden she's getting like 1,800 pop-ups on that computer. Son, what is this? I don't know. Someone sent me a link. I actually clicked on it. Oh, Skinamax. Yeah, Skinamax was nice. You know what else? Like Wild on E with Brooke Burke and then a little Howard Stern action. And then those Girls Gone Wild infomercials that played from like 12 to 3. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all do, some of y'all don't. The dial-up days, see? Yeah, they don't know the real struggles, man. Y'all don't get it, man. Y'all just have it like right there. It was a commitment. You had to be committed to it. You had to be willing to die back in the day to look at that type of stuff. I'm just telling you. Yeah, it's what it is. But that's what Jeffrey Simmons and Sweat are doing. They got to, oh my God. Oh my God. Who is 70? Goodness gracious. Who is 70? Look at that guy. Wow. I'm going to roast him. 69? Goodness gracious. Who's this? Got 54? Oh my gosh. They're ready to go. Let's be serious. They're ready to go. If we're being honest. That's how it is. Man, what does race have to do with this, Rocky Ortiz? Why are we bringing race into the equation, man? I didn't even read what you said. I just know I got to hit this because you're prefacing it with your Mexican.
Race car!
We started with those little paper anime magazines. Anime magazines? You're the one that looks at the anime? Man, you're crazy there. Anime? What'd Stute say? Quentin Williams going to swim move and eat CJ? That's what Simmons doesn't do. Dudes, Jeffrey Simmons, man. Every time I say Jeffrey Simmons now, I have that finesse 2 times Gucci Mane song in there. I think it might be one of the best like shout outs of a player in all of like rap music today. The finesse 2 times verse with Gucci Mane, but I won't play it because those guys tend to like copyright stuff whenever you play their music. But it's legit if you want to check it out. Let's hear from CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, he's going to start out talking about that previously mentioned Titans D line. Here was what CJ had to say. I asked him about the not knowing what day it is. Here's what he had to say about it.
Very talented. They have a really good defense. They've put it on film. You know, they're almost top 10 in every category that we go over. You know, on days like today. So yeah, they're number 1 in third down, and they have a lot of playmakers. You know, Jeffrey Simmons is a great player. Snead, you know, he's been out, but he's a great player as well. And you know, they've brought in Jerome Baker, who I think is a good backer. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge for us.
It seemed like you all have one of your more efficient performances offensively. Where did it possibly feel? I don't want to say easier. That's not the right word to use. Where did it feel a lot more improved for you all when you were playing the game?
I feel like honestly it was just 4 quarters. Like you look at a lot of the games we've played, we've had good drives. I don't think we've ever had a problem moving the football, but it's you know, scoring in the red zone, scoring touchdowns, turnovers for me recently, and really just you know just not scoring points. Like that's ultimately, and then yeah, honestly. So when you play 4-quarter football, you move the ball. When it's not there, you know, check it down or just keep us in the green. Like that's where we thrive. So I feel like it's been the difference from last game to previous ones.
You mentioned the turnover. Just what happened on the interception with Nico, and kind of what's gone into having some more turnovers this year compared to last year.
I'm moving on, bro. It's a good question to ask me on Monday, but try to anticipate it. I thought it was a great read. My coaches did as well. Just missed it a couple inches high. But yeah, I don't think I'm just like I told you, bro. Like shooters got to shoot, and you know if if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, you know, I'm just going to continue to play and throw anticipation, throw no looks. Like, I'm gonna be me. I'm going to rather have fun. So, yeah, I don't if it means I got to throw more picks to get us to win, like, it is what it is. But, I mean, our coaches trust me. And, you know, I believe that, you know, I'm able to, you know, make some really good reads and also, you know, be able to check it down when I need to or make the smart play. So I don't think it's just, out of a sudden CJ is throwing a whole bunch of picks. Like, no, I'm doing the same things I've been doing. So, yeah.
What is it with Joe and everything he's done for the team this season? What has impressed you most about him?
Honestly, just, you know, his mentality, just who he comes in every day, just him being himself. So, you know, and then what he does on the field, you know, he's very special with the ball in his hands. So, yeah, was very special to him.
I'm sure you get used to it as your career goes on, but what has it been like playing Thursday night, then Sunday night, then Monday night, just from like, because last year y'all had all noon games up to the final week of the season. Has that been kind of different?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. Like, for this week, you know, we have a shorter week. Previous week we had an extra day, and then Thursday night we didn't have really a break. So you learn just, you know, to pick your head up and go. Well, I mean, there's no point of, you know, overthinking it or just, you know, trying to rationalize it. You just go out there and do it. It's our job, and I look at it as fun, you know. So I feel like, you know, next year or years, God willing, that the Lord blesses me with more years of my career, you know, I'll be able to, you know, be prepared for those moments even better now. So I'm excited for that.
CJ, after watching, you spoke about the offensive line after the game, but after going back and watching the film and seeing the job that you did, how much more acclimated are you getting to playing with Patterson and Stroud in the positions that they're in?
Yeah, I think it's been great. You know, I think, honestly, we only had like one miscue between us three. We're really just me and J-Pat. But honestly, yeah, I believe that, you know, that was what was best for the team. And, you know, I think I love Juice's mindset with that, you know, that, you know, he's playing really well at center, but we needed somebody at guard, and, you know, he raised his hand to be a volunteer. So, you know, it just shows what type of guy he is. And, you know, J-Pat to come in off a concussion and be playing really well has been amazing. So, you know, just a lot of respect for those two.
You've been it feels like you've been seeing the field pretty well. You mentioned even with that, you know, interception, you're seeing it well. Since you've been here, that's kind of been the case. You've seen the field. What's allowed you to kind of be able to?
Well, y'all gotten crazy in the chat. I blame myself, though. It's my fault. Golly, though.
I would say failure.
They are crazy.
Failing time and time again. It hasn't just been in the NFL, but from the time I've been 7 years old, just learning from my failures, learning from my mistakes, learning from my the things that I need to fix, and just fixing those things. So, you know, I believe that, you know, anything worth it in life is hard. And for me, you know, ball has been something that the Lord has blessed me with, a natural talent and a natural kind of thought process to understand the game and understand movements, and, you know, to be blessed with that skill. So I honestly would say, you know, just learning from my failures have been the reason why I think I can see it so well now. And, you know, there's not a time in the game where, honestly, I've thrown a pick or thrown a completion or throwing a touchdown where I didn't see the coverage or didn't see a blitz or something happen. I more times than not know what's going on, and, you know, that's a testament to, you know, my coaches helping me prepare, my preparation on my own, my teammates' ID and stuff, and calling things out. Like Dalton helps me with that a lot too. So
he's always trying to shout out Dalton.
I know every week is different along with the opponent, but how different was it on Sunday having Nico back with the way the defense is maybe playing the guys?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, you got to play us more true, but I definitely felt his presence out there. You know, he was able to score on the first play, and, you know, it was brought back. But, you know, it just shows what type of player he is. And, you know, they honestly, you can see they played a little more shell coverage in the second half, and we were able to still withstand and, you know, just be smart taking the check downs and moving the ball down the field and letting Joe run the ball like he should against Shell. So, you know, his presence was felt, and I think, you know, he'll continue to be great for us and, you know, help everybody around him be better.
We're going to close with Aaron, Kim, and Sarge.
CJ, he's your teammate, so you don't have to compete against him, thankfully. But what do you see when you watch Danielle Hunter rush the passer?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're the quarterback when it's live, having to play against him.
I would want to. I do, bro. He's special, man. And I think honestly, like who he is at practice too helps us as a team. You know, he don't take no plays off. He's always in practice. Him and Will are always working hard, and they help LT and Titus get better. And I think that just iron sharpen iron. You know, Proverbs 27:17 is one of Coach D'Amico's mottos. You know, is iron sharpen iron sharpens another man sharpen another. So even in the word, you can do it in football as well. So who he is on Sundays, who he is during the week. So no surprise, but I got to watch a little more this week, which was amazing. And you know, I even feel like against a couple other teams, he's getting held a lot, and there's no calls, and you know, his presence is felt. You know, he's like I used to not understand why LeBron got so many foul calls until he became a Laker, and now that I see why he gets so many fouls, because he's so dominant, and you just have to hold him, or you have to do something to stop a fast break. Same thing with Daniil. He's so dominant that you have to do something to chip him or do something to knock him off his game. So that's how I look. I'm not saying he LeBron, but he up there though for sure.
Hey CJ, can you talk about what it meant to have so many Texans fans on Sunday? Sometimes you hear, not you personally, but collectively, some of the noise that may not be great, but to have fans travel. Talk about what that meant for you guys.
That was amazing. Like that was something that inspired me to play well, you know, and to go out there and have fun. You know, we ran out before the game, you know, it was loud. And I was like, oh, shoot, like, it's going crazy. Like, this is cool. So that was amazing. And I just appreciate, you know, Texan Nation for showing up and being able to, you know, be right there with us. And,
Yeah, they loved
it. You know,
it.
H-Town Live now, you know, so we rolling and we're going to keep this thing going. And the more support we get, I mean, it really does help us as a team to look up in the stands and, you know, do it not only for our team, but our family, and, you know, for God, but also for our fans. I definitely felt the presence and, you know, to kind of take it over. I had that a lot in college, and that helped us then. And, you know, I looked at, we played Northwestern this week, and Wrigley Field was all red, you know, so same thing for us. The Cowboy Stadium was all red, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Buckeye fans are crazy though. That's CJ Stroud at the podium. A lot of people bringing up the Juice Scruggs and the matchup that he's going to have with these guys. This is going to be a big test for Juice Scruggs. If he plays like he has the last couple of weeks, there's gonna be some rough moments for Juice Scruggs. Just to be flat out blunt and flat out honest, like it's going to be a tough go of it for Juice Scruggs if he's going to play the way he has the last couple of games since he's been in the lineup. It's tough, man. It's a really tough interior. You've got to figure something out. We'll talk to Bobby Slowick tomorrow. Hear what Bobby has to say. Should I ask Bobby about the ball cap? He likes to give me a hard time about my caps now. Which, by the way, he was right. That cap was a little dirty. It was just kind of my outdoor cap. But if I'm gonna make fun of Bobby's ball caps, if Bobby just wants to roast me for my cap, I get it. I was fine with it. He just looks so damn awkward in those hats. He looks like Smalls from Sandlot. I don't know what the hell Bobby's doing there. But should I ask him about his ball cap? Is that going to be a thing? Did Bobby ever wear a visor? Milio says better than a visor. I don't think I've seen Bobby in a visor. Maybe I don't think so. I've seen him in a beanie, but he usually just wears the ball cap that they have to wear that day. I don't think he wears a visor. I've never seen that. You're killing me, Smalls. Yeah. The hat that Benny told him to throw in the fire. Remember that? Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I'll ask him about the cap, if that's a thing or what. That's not gonna be the first. That won't be the first question. We'll probably just have to ask him about the D-line. I actually thought Bobby called a good game last Sunday. Is that allowed? Is it okay to say that? Is that cool? People were talking about the 3rd and 1 at the end of the game. I really just think they were working on shit at the end of the game. They were trying to score. They were trying to end the droughts. But I don't look at that. I didn't really take that very serious. Like anything that happened in that 4th quarter when stuff started getting out of hand, outside of saying, oh crap, are you going to get someone hurt just for trying to end this streak? Outside of that, I was kind of zoned out after that. But as far as like when the game actually mattered, I thought Bobby Slowick called a good game. I really, really do. That first call to Nico Collins was perfect. That was a touchdown call. It got wiped away by Laramie Tunsil. Joe Mixon drops the ball on third down, puts him in situation for the perfect matchup. That's a touchdown play call. You just heard CJ Stroud himself say, good play call, good read, bad throw by me to Nico Collins. That was on the fourth down where they went for it. Bobby Slowick called that. I thought Bobby Slowick called a good game on Sunday. Cowboys suck. I think you're probably, and this is the other thing, is I think you're going from the worst interior D-line that you'll face this year to the best. I think that's what the Texans are doing right now. The Cowboys in the middle of the defense, and I think you heard Kelsey talking about it before the game as well. They're not good. They did not address their interior D-line. And a lot of guys that could help them along the D-line kind of banged up a little bit. But I think that there's a legit concern, or there should be, or excitement. Because let's be honest, it's not like you're going against, like, when Chris Jones is doing his thing and Kansas City's doing their thing on the D-line, like, they have other stuff that can beat you. You can overcome dominance. I do wonder, like, what do you do if it doesn't look good? Like, what is, like, let's say that Juice Scruggs starts looking like Kenyon Green. What do you do? Because for a while with Kenyon Green, it was kind of like, well, they just hoped that Kenyon Green would get it together. And in this instance, like, if Juice Scruggs looks bad, like, let's say he looks bad this week, and let's say Jacksonville makes him look bad, and then we go into the bye, and they're going to go against Miami's defense, Kansas City's, and then Baltimore's, and then you're going to have to face this interior to D-line again, but we don't know what they're going to be doing week 18. So that could change. But let's say that Juice Scruggs sucks. Let's say that he plays bad. What's the next move? Do you go back to Kendrick Green? Do you move Titus Howard to left guard and you move Fisher to right tackle? Like, what's the next move? Because I think it's worth asking. What if it's bad? What is the next move? Is there a next move? Is this the ride and die? Like, are we riding and dying with this 5? Because I think it's a real possibility that we look at Juice Scruggs and say, man, this guy's really struggling. For whatever reason, this guy's really, really struggling. This week, I think good players would struggle with this D-line. But what do? It's something to think about. It's something to watch. It's a good challenge. Hell, if we're talking about on Sunday during the postgame show, after we wrap everything up at the stadium, if we're sitting here and we're talking about, man, Juice Scruggs really held his own against Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat, that's progress right there. That's something you can build on. I'm not buying this, like, and I like the approach. I mean, I don't like it. It is what it is with how CJ and D'Amico talk about the offensive line. There's no tough love. Like, you're not going to tough love them into being better. So that's the way it's happening. But when CJ Stroud says they're the reason that we won the game against the Cowboys, I don't believe that. I don't blame him for saying it. But I mean, me personally, watching the game, just dumbass me, I don't believe that. When D'Amico Ryan says that Kenyon Green is, playing good or whatever, I don't believe that. I don't think there was like massive progress against the Cowboys. I know Mixon went untouched, but come on. A lot of that's him. We're grading on a curve. But if they do their thing against the Titans, then that's legit. That's 100% legit. And that's something that you got to do. Someone says I'm checking in from the 505. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to the 505. What are they doing in the 505? New Mexico. My goodness. I had to look that up. Had to make sure that wasn't something I should know. New Mexico. What do y'all do in New Mexico? What goes down in New Mexico? I've driven through New Mexico a couple of times when I've gone to LA. I drove to San Diego and I've driven to LA twice. I went for the Rose Bowl. When Texas played USC, I flew to the one in Michigan. I was at the Texas-Michigan one, and I drove to the one USC, and then I drove to. This sucked. I drove to Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl when they beat Ohio State, McCoy's junior year. Man, we went like scurrying off the road, like probably like 200 feet, like turned. I was in a Uke though. Dude had to pull us out. There was like a snowstorm, like an ice storm, just started swarming all the way down through a fence, like a barbed wire fence. Boom. There were like 4 cars that joined us in there. That's how slippery it was. That sucked. But every time I went through New Mexico, it looked like there was like a meth deal going on. Like when you drive through there. That was wild. Zach Thomas is an option. I don't know anything about Zach Thomas's game. I'll be honest with you. Don't know if it's good. Who knows? UFOs in New Mexico. Okay, didn't know. 8-4 sounds better than 7-5. It does. Looks a lot better too, doesn't it? Just seems like you have like a distance. And then you got the Lions. They're taking on the Colts. You want to talk about a weird betting line? That one is a stay away from. That is a stay the hell away from. Maybe I might talk myself into it, but right now it's down to 7. I feel like everybody and their mom, dad, cat, dog, hamster, if you're a weirdo that has a hamster as a pet, no disrespect. Everyone wants to bet on the Lions -7 against the Colts. Everybody. And I don't blame you. Man, if you gamble enough, you know when something's up. There is something up there. It's like when the Texans were 3.5 point dogs against the Lions. Everybody's like, man, you got to take that. You got to take that one. Oh, my God. Nico Collins isn't playing. You got to jump all over that. Guess what? They covered. There's something going on there. I'm staying the hell away from that. I don't promise you that. I got nothing to do with that. That might be a live bet. We might be able to get down the live bet. You do it, Andrew. Bet US. YouTube 150. You get 150% deposit. I'm not touching that. That might be a live bet. There might be some props in there that you can get. Last week was cake with Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell was 11.5 over under receiving yards. He got that in the second play. I'm not touching that. That one's kind of weird. But if the Colts do lose, then you're 3+ up in the division with 5 to play. And they'll be playing the Patriots. You think Drake May can get it done against the Colts?
Drake.
If that happens and then you beat the Jags, then you're 4+ up. You basically clinch the division. That's the end. Because you own the tiebreaker. So if you go 2-0 and they go 0-2, you clinch it heading into the bye. And I'm erring on the side of caution with Will Anderson. If he's not 110%, he's not going out there. We're not going to risk that. Does that make me soft? Maybe. The only thing about fixing this O-line is that we're going to have to lose some valuable pieces on defense. What does that mean exactly? What are you saying? The only thing about fixing this O-line is that we're going to have to lose some valuable pieces on defense. So you're talking about offseason? Like once you start paying? I I don't know that I agree with that, with the way that stuff lines up, because I would assume that Blake Fisher is one of your starting tackles. He's on a rookie contract, second round rookie contract. I would think you would, in a perfect world, like to have Juice Scruggs and Jared Patterson as a part of it. Who knows? They got 2 years left on their rookie contract. And then Titus and Tunsil are expensive. Their alternatives are probably going to be cheaper. And I'm assuming that perhaps you draft someone in the draft. So I disagree with that. I think eventually you're going to have to let good players go once the core guys get older. But as far as you're going to have to sacrifice with the O-line, I think the O-line is going to be a cheap fix. I don't think it's going to be free agency. I mean, there might be some instance. You already got one of your future tackles. I don't know what they do with Titus. I don't know what they do. I don't know what the future is with Tunsil. I would love to be able to move on from him in a couple of years and Blake Fisher be that guy. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot of work. But yeah, I don't know that you have to sacrifice anything. And then you look at the defense, like who are they going to say goodbye to? Right now they're going to have to pay Stingley. That's happening no matter what. I would assume that Titus, you're not going to be paying him once you're paying Stingley. That's going to be bye-bye. Maybe you can bring in like a George Fant. Your corners, Lassiter's got 3 years on his rookie deal. Bullock's going to have 3 years on his rookie deal. Petrie, I don't know how expensive that's going to be in the role. Toto is going to have 2 years on his rookie deal. Devin White, I don't know that that's going to be too expensive. And then I don't know what the other pieces will be. Daniil Hunter he's on a 2-year deal, so he's going to have 1 more year. You're going to pay Will Anderson after that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that puzzle lines up. So I don't think that. And there's no like who are you not going to be able to pay on defense? Like who are you not going to be able to pay and who's going to be expensive on the O-line? Disagree with that. I think Tim Settle might get a contract. I think it's going to be like top of the league. But yeah, I don't think when you actually take a close look at the contracts and what they would cost and how you're going to fix it, I don't think it's going to be at the sake of the defense. I think once you pay CJ, you might have to say goodbye to some guys that you don't want to say goodbye to. But no, I don't agree with that at all. Don't want this front office drafting another bust on the O-line. Just go get someone in free agency. Okay. I mean, they traded for Shaq Mason. They gave him a deal. Free agency, I would rather build in the draft than in free agency. It wasn't this front office that drafted Kenyon Green. I mean, it was Nick Caserio. D'Amico wasn't here. D'Amico's a part of things. D'Amico's a different animal. Nick Caserio has to answer to D'Amico. And vice versa. I mean, they work together, but the evaluation of the offensive line is not necessarily D'Amico. I mean, he was here when they took Juice, yes. He was here when they took Patterson, yes. I guess that he signed off on giving Titus Howard the contract extension, which, yeah, probably not great. Tunsil was here before. Shaq Mason, that's kind of Caserio's guy. So, yeah, I don't trust Nick Caserio. I agree with you on that, to evaluate offensive linemen. But hopefully D'Amico has a little bit more of an impact, I would think. Because if they can fix, and you look at what like the weaknesses were of the Texans, I think there were, like we were talking about the weakest position groups in the offseason. And look, we've gotten into a little bit of offseason talk and stuff. That's what happens when you're playing a dog-butted football team. I've said it. I've already made it clear. I'm worried about Tennessee's D-line. Okay, there you go. I'm not going to break down Will Levis. I'm not going to break down Calvin Ridley. I don't care about Calvin Ridley unless he wants to give me some parlay advice, because I am kind of lost on the betting lines. Maybe Calvin Ridley can give me like some betting advice. But who cares about the X's and O's of this one? There's plenty of places to go. Seth Payne's great for that. John Harris is great for that. Screw that. Interior D-line, that's it. But as far as like the weaknesses, like let's just look at this football team because we're in the moment right now. We have high expectations, but let's take a step back. Let's moonwalk 9 months to February. At the end of February, what were we saying were the weak parts of this ball club? What were we saying? I would say that we were probably saying, I'm not going to speak for everyone. I never really bought into this offensive line, but I think there was a certain level of excitement that, once this offensive line gets healthy, it's going to be better. So I don't even know that offensive line was one of those things that they attacked in the offseason as like something they just had to improve. For better or worse, I don't think that was a goal. If they had gone into this offseason and said, you know what, we got to fix this offensive line, then I would be even more concerned that they're not going to be able to fix it in the offseason. But they brought back Juice, they brought back Patterson, they brought back Kenyon Green, they brought back Shaq Mason, they had Tunsil, and they had Titus Howard. They didn't like set out to fix the offensive line. Now, maybe you probably wish that they would have now, but they used their resources on other things. And the other three position groups, I would say, that were the most popular mentions when it came to concerns were secondary, D-line, and linebackers. And let's look at all that, what they set out to do. In the secondary, they drafted Kamari Lassiter, they drafted Kalen Bullock, and they changed Jalen Petrie to a different role. That's pretty damn good. On the D-line, they signed Daniil Hunter to the 2-year deal. He leads the league in pressures right now. They brought in Tim Settle. Tim Settle is on track to get perhaps double-digit sacks. He says he's one of the best interior rushers in the league. They seem to love him. It worked out a hell of a lot better than Eric Armstead. They brought in Mario Edwards Jr., who's been playing well. And the D-line's pretty good. They're not dependent on one guy. At linebacker, they got Devin White. Henry To'oTo'o has gotten better. We haven't even seen Christian Harris. They brought in Aziz Al-Shaair, and they've done a good job. So everything they set out to fix, you could even say wide receiver depth. They traded for Diggs. Didn't work out because he got hurt, but they traded for Diggs. So they did a good job. Now, if you're kind of skeptical about that, that is the defensive side of the rock. That's D'Amico's specialty. But they didn't is the frustration with the offensive line. I think it's more connected to the fact that this organization has a 2+ decade history of garbage offensive line play. And it is a misevaluation, don't get me wrong. But I believe, and I still think there is logical skepticism about the offensive side of the rock and how they're going to handle stuff. But I do believe that with D'Amico and Caserio working together, and I think that's important, if they set out to fix something, I think you should. I'm not going to say you should, but I think there's confidence that they can fix that. They didn't do that with the O-line. And you only have so many resources that you can use. But I think this offseason they used pretty good effing resources to fix some of the other areas of concern. And offensive line, let's be honest. I never believed in them. But with what you had invested, you had to figure it out. So that's where it is. Sarah says it right. Coaching matters. It damn sure does. So does decision-making. Ain't no doubt about it. Fire Strausser and bring someone who knows how to get the most, I guess. Look, I'm not a Chris Strausser guy. I think he sounds like a weasel at the podium. I'm not the biggest fan of his. I don't dislike him. But did he get the most of guys last year? I think we got to bring that up and be fair to Chris Strausser. I'm not a fan. I think you probably look at a new offensive line coach. You got to do what you can do. But would you say that last year with that shuffling offensive line where we didn't know who the hell was going to be there each week, do you think he got the most of them? Kind of think he did. Like, I think if we were talking about the offensive line coach last year after the season and the performance with all the crap they had to deal with, and I don't know how to explain this. This is one of the great mysteries. But if you look at that, I kind of thought he did last year. So it has to be something on this offensive line right now that is impacting things in some sort of snowball effect. He says, go ask Colt fans. I'm not going to ask Colt fans shit. What do they know? What am I going to ask Colt fans about? First year of Strausser was great, and then it slowly got worse and worse. That's fine. So did their quarterback play was never consistent. I think Quentin Nelson got banged up. Yeah, it got worse and worse. So is everything there. What's gotten better with the Colts? Nothing. Nothing's gotten better with the Colts. I don't like Chris Strausser. I'm not asking the Colt fans anything. Hell, they going to tell me. They canceled Chris Ballard's Hall of Fame induction yet? The hell's that goofball doing? Not asking them anything. Hell no, I'm not asking them. And by the way, the worst bit on the internet is that weasel that sings the Colt stuff. Like, that's not funny, man. There's nothing funny about that. Like, I know it goes viral and some people do. That's the worst bit on the internet right now. That Colts guy singing. It's not funny. I don't even click. I clicked on it for 25 seconds the first time, and then I saw this was going to be an ongoing thing. That's just dumb. There's nothing entertaining about that. That's terrible. I guess it's just get that out of here, man. That drives me nuts. I believe our O-line will come from the draft out of the SEC. Okay. I mean, you can't go wrong with the SEC. Texas is in the SEC. They got a hell of a lot of experienced O-linemen. Many of them are going to be honored Saturday at Senior Day. It'd be nice to get a Longhorn on this team, right? I don't count Chris Boyd. I know he's a Longhorn, but yeah, it's special teams. Be nice to get one out there. Maybe Nick can go to Austin and figure something out. They got some good players on both sides of the rock. But yeah, SEC can't go wrong. No doubt about it. Don't disagree, Blue Boy. Don't disagree. I think there's some contagious energy there too. Don't disagree with you, my friend. Majors at center would be nice. Yeah, that's a smart mofo. He's a smart dude, man. Been there from the beginning. He's one of their culture guys. Texas is turning around with Sark. Majors is a big part of it. Big part of it. No doubt. George Fant was way underrated compared to what's his name this year. Preach. Appreciate y'all for coming through. It's my wife's birthday. Happy birthday to wifey. Let me stream while we just hung out a little bit. Gotta get ready for SNL at 9 a.m. But happy birthday to wifey. Got her a solo stove. We got the solo stove, the Snoop Dogg thing to start a fire. Man, I gotta tell you, how are they gonna tell me that there's no smoke? Like, it's not as bad as a fire, but there's smoke, man. I'm very happy with the purchase. I'm not upset, but there's smoke, man. Come on. What are we saying? There's smoke. Let's be serious. But is there smoke when it comes to the Texans Titans? See what I did there? Is there smoke? Are you upset? Are you sleepwalking like the Texans might be? What's your confidence level in the interior of the Texans O-line versus the interior of the Titans O-line? Mine's not high. But it should still be enough to get a dub, right? Who knows? Shout out to Calvin Ridley. If you got that betting advice, let me know. Still the dumbest thing that's ever been done. Calvin Ridley. How are you going to take a leave of absence to get your mentals right and then make a parlay parlay bets under your own name on the team that you left. That was crazy. Shout out to him. He got paid though. David Mulligetta doing his thing. By the way, he represents Stingley and Stroud. If you heard CJ mention that. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. I'm gonna go back by the fire. I'm gonna go enjoy myself. It might be a late night tonight, but it's gonna be an early morning as well. SNL 9 a.m. Bobby Slowick speaks as well. Join. Subscribe, like, right along. Appreciate y'all. All love. We're all in this together.
Post of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we